Hello everybody, it's Mike Levin, November 19th, around 9:30 a.m. I guess, on my way into Flying Point Digital. And I cranked out the first draft of an article yesterday I'm pretty proud of. Search Facets Gone Wild. That addresses all those issues that you have to address on pretty much every e-commerce site these days that features that style of multiple selectors that can be used at the same time in any order to filter your search results, so common on sites like Amazon and Zappos and basically any e-commerce. And that kind of put me on a roll, and it becomes pretty clear that one of the things of value I bring to this group is what is viewed as extreme technical competence. I set up pretty much anything, any piece of software I encounter. I've set up Endeca as part of their sales process, trying to give you the first dose free in your organization. As an SEO consultant, I see them doing that with my clients today, and I can speak very naturally about what they're going to encounter. And that was set up on a virtual machine on one of the VMware clouds that a previous employer had. And I just jump into these things head first, get my hands dirty, no big deal. And the key to doing that, although it's viewed as this like almost supernatural power by what you might call non-technical SEOs, the truth is, like anything else in life, it was the result of a series of much smaller, much more modest steps. And I've been dedicating part of my purpose to getting people over those smaller steps with endeavors such as Levinix and Pipulate. And I will continue to do so, but that turns out to be at a much more fundamental, hardcore technical level than most people really need. Most people don't need to strip down to bare bones, minimal Linux, a BusyBox Linux, and start using Vim in order to get technical. That throws up way too steep of artificial barriers. There's easier paths that are much more aligned to what I might call the diagnostics sort of technical. The technical where you can diagnose anything by thinking logically about it in a process not dissimilar from an auto mechanic, that I often refer to this diagnostic procedure as being like, with all respect, trying to actually point out how observing a system from the outside, looking at symptoms, knowing from prior knowledge what those symptoms are probably a result of, that's a highly skilled ability. It comes only in time and experience. And so there is that diagnostics type of tech that's also a lot like the scientific method. I mean, if you are predisposed to looking at things, taking them apart, figuring them out, putting them back together, you can be a programmer, you can be a tech, same thing. A lot of this stuff is the same thing. I like to point out that artists and musicians should have an easier time becoming the most valuable sort of tech, which is a creative tech, because once you get down the simple moves, following instructions, following installs, the ability to edit text files, to control your config files, and you know, XML files, and how to start and stop programs. Once you get past all the basics, concepts of security should be in there. The thing that differentiates people is their abstract, their higher level thinking ability, and their ability to quickly transcend what many people who view themselves as hardcore technical think they are, but they're really not. They're more of that diagnostic scientific method type. Sure, there's creativity in that, and you can do some awesome things setting up systems the way other people laid them before you to set up, but optimizing the heck out of them and making them run better than any other instance. That's kind of like a tweaky optimization satisfaction of being a tech. Nothing like creating a system for the first time using contrary thought, contrary wisdom, And I always forget this guy's full name because it's a long name, but David H., who created Ruby on Rails, was exactly that sort of thinker. It started out as a way he was programming an internal tech project for his company. He was already an experienced programmer, but he made a bunch of what by the standards of the day were controversial different decisions, where instead of weighing things down with config files, he would make the system try and behave a certain way for lack of any other instructions. And that way it behaved is kind of like the highly common create, record, edit, and delete list manager application that's easy to build with a relational database. So he took something that took, you know, days in under a framework like the Java frameworks at the time, just to figure out how to do it, and turned it into something you could do within minutes or at worst hours of a Ruby on Rails fresh install. So he changed the way people thought about a certain area of tech, particularly frameworks, and how different and lightweight and still useful and joyful they could be. They took away our sidewalk here, so I'm just switching around. And so my lesson about tech, my first lesson is that first set of stuff, just getting down the rules, how to view a problem, how to pick it apart, how to know some basic command line stuff, both under DOS and Unix-like environments. Not that hard, very rote. Learning how to control the dir or the ls commands to create a, you know, bare bones listing, and how to use the greater than sign in a file name to output that to a file so that you could do some macro against it to turn it into a command, which you could have done on the dir or ls command itself, but it's easier to do it later, maybe in Excel, then export it and then execute it as a batch or script file, that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna try and write an article today talking my team how to take that first step into being a diagnostic style tech, and hopefully layer in some creativity and how to view a problem and such. But that's what I'm doing today. Hope to talk to you soon. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe.